Welcome back to Why Everyone Can and Should Invest, the Crash Course by Charlie Cameron. And this is lesson 2.1, and now we're going to talk a little bit about why you have to invest to ever retire. So retirement's really far away, right? For millennials like myself, who cares? It's super far away, I'll start saving later. Well, because it's so far away, that's exactly why we want to start investing now. Because interest earnings depend heavily on time, and more time means more you can earn, and more time means less cost to you. It actually costs more to you to start saving later. And I'll show you why that is here in a second. But first, let me just go over 3 retirement misunderstandings. One is that I can save for retirement in a savings account. In reality, you need stock earnings to build up a decent retirement nest egg. Number 2, I'll wait until I make more money to invest towards retirement. This actually costs you more to wait. You can't make up for missed interest over time. And number 3, I don't have to retire, I'll just keep working. The average retirement age is actually rather young, probably less than you expect, so it's going to be unrealistic to think that you'll be an exception to this. So, examples on all 3 of these. The first one, savings account versus investments for retirement. So, let's say you want to build a $1 million nest egg to start your retirement, and you do that with $500 a month. Well, if you put that into a savings account, it's going to take you over 167 years to get there. I don't think you're going to live that long, but if you put it into a retirement investment account and invest in stocks and bonds, then that's going to take only about 43 years. That's much more achievable. So the other advantage, though, is that there are giant tax benefits on retirement accounts. So saving outside of retirement type accounts for a regular retirement, age 59 or older, is very unwise because you're paying more taxes. And who the heck wants to pay more taxes, right? And so I talked about $1 million here, but the actual amount that you need is going to depend on your income, what you can put away, and your desired retirement income, what you want to achieve. And that's really dependent on you, and you can set a goal and set out to achieve it. But $1 million is probably not enough for the average American for the median household income of $54,000. But it's not all bad news, there's good news coming up. But first, let's talk about the second misconception. I can wait to start investing for retirement, when I'm making more money. That makes more sense. Well, let's take a look at what it takes to build $1 million to retire at age, say, 65. That's our goal. If you start at age 25 to do this, you have 40 total years working for you with interest over those 40 years, and it takes $575 a month to do this. Your total contribution over those 40 years is about $278,000. But the interest you earned was about $725,000. That's basically like free money. That's money you didn't have to put away for. That's money that you can live your retirement off of, that you didn't have to work for, really. You earned it through your investments. And then if let's say you start 5 years later, you start at age 30 even. So you only have 35 years now to get to 1 million at age 65. That's actually going to cost you over $200 more a month to do that, starting at age 30. And it's going to cost you $50,000 more in total cost to you out of your pocket. Right? We achieve the same thing overall, we earn less interest, but it costs more to you. Now, if you jump to the bottom line there, if you start at age 40, you only have 25 years. So that's going to cost you $1,500 a month. That's huge. That's a giant payment. That's more than most people's mortgage payment. So the contribution cost to you there is very large, $468,000. So let's compare that to starting at age 25. Look at the difference there. There's a $190,000 difference in what it costs you out of pocket to achieve the same goal by waiting 15 years to get started. And then look at the total interest earned. So if you started and you had 40 years to your advantage, the amount of interest earned is almost 3/4 of that $1 million you built up. But if you wait until age 40 to start with the same goal, it's almost half. You almost had to contribute half of that amount instead of earning 3/4 in interest. So that's no good. Doesn't pay off to wait. And then maybe my solution should just be I just won't retire, or I'll retire even later than that. Well, Here's some American averages right now. The expected retirement age is age 66. However, actual retirements are age 62. So Americans are retiring 4 years earlier than they plan to retire at. This is huge because that's when your nest egg is biggest, and that's when it's earning the most interest on that money. So if you plan for those 4 years and don't get it, your retirement income is going to be less than you expected. It's going to greatly lower it, as a matter of fact. And so the average 65-year-old right now is expected to live to their mid-80s. So people like me, millennials, we could probably expect to live to at least our mid-90s. So not planning to retire and being forced to retire, say maybe for medical reasons, around age 62, that leaves a 30-year or more gap that you hadn't saved for, hadn't invested for, and so somebody has to cover that, right? And so that's probably going to be your family. If you're thinking about Social Security here, I wouldn't think much about it. The average American gets about $14,000 in Social Security benefits. That's a year, so that's not a whole lot of money. And that's if you get Social Security when that time comes. So I would really plan for your retirement without that. And then if you get it, that's an extra, icing on the retirement cake. So this is a great quote by Dave Ramsey, financial guru. We have a retirement crisis in America today, not from a lack of money, but from a lack of vision. What he's saying is people need to understand that they need to start early, cost them less, and they can make more money that way. Exactly what we just looked at. Here's some statistics to emphasize this if you're interested. A third of Americans haven't even started saving for retirement. So if you start today, you're doing better than a third of America. When you hit the $10,000 point, you're doing better than half of America. 42% of millennials like myself haven't started. This is a big mistake. Just like I showed here, we have time on our side, and we can start now, and it'll cost less for us. And of those age 55 and older, 28% have zero retirement savings. Nothing saved up. These people will have to depend on somebody else. And only 1 in 4 have more than $300,000 saved. And while I'm not going to get into how much you should have saved in this course, because it gets a little more in depth, I'll point you to some resources as well. But the $300,000 is probably not enough for the vast majority of people. I'm talking more than 90% of people aren't going to be able to live off that in retirement for 30 plus years potentially. So the good news, here's the good news. If you plan your retirement right now, you'll actually be able to retire, which is good. I know I don't want to work forever. You'll be able to control what your retirement income is going to be by planning it now and live very comfortably in retirement, maybe even better than your peers, likely much better than your peers if you actually plan it, which is not what most people do. They just get there and see what happens. You'll prevent financial burden on your family, maybe prevent them from getting set back towards retirement, and it's going to cost you far less out of pocket. Imagine what you could do with the rest of that money. And I would suggest maybe you invest the rest of that money outside of retirement, and that's coming up very soon. Now, if you want an example of what you can achieve, for example, just myself, and I'm an average American making average pay. In fact, I'm in the military, so I make less than what I would outside of the military, which I'm okay with. But my wife and I each are planning on, as a minimum, having about 1.5 million in our retirement accounts. So that's 3 million total. And this is absolutely achievable for most people should you start early. You could set yourself up on the path to achieve something just like that if you set a goal and you go for it. And I'm going to show you more about where you can find information like that at the end of this course. But before we roll into non-retirement investments, which is where you can put some of that money, I'm going to talk to you about how retirement investing works because it can be a little bit confusing. So let's jump right into it.